Hello, everybody, and welcome to our monthly meal planning cook-along session. I'm so happy to see those of you that are here live, and also if you're catching this on the replay, thank you for watching. Today we have Sabrina. She's a dietetic intern completing her hours with me, and she will be demonstrating a meal. I'll let her talk about that. She's gonna cook it, prepare it, we'll see the end result, and then at the end we will kind of go over some features of EatLove as usual. And feel free to chime in during the session. If you have any questions, you can say it out loud or type it in the chat. So without further ado, this is Sabrina.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's cooking demo. Like Edith said, I'm Sabrina. I'm her dietetic intern, and today we'll be making a delicious and nutritious meal. We'll be making Cajun salmon with asparagus and sweet potato fries. I think this recipe is perfect. It's really quick and it's packed with protein and healthy fats and plenty of fiber from the veggies. So let's get started. First off, we'll start by preheating the oven to 425, which I've already done. And then we'll get started with our sweet potato. I already washed and peeled this, but you can actually leave the peeling on if you prefer that. And what we want to do is cut the sweet potato into 1/4 inch strips. And to do this, we'll cut the potato in half lengthwise. This way, it gives us an easy stable way to cut the fries. So then we'll lay it flat and then slice it into strips. And the key to this is keeping the strips even so they cook evenly. And I like to think about the size of maybe your pinky or like the pinky nail. That way it cooks all the way through and makes it a little bit crispy. And then we'll lay it flat again and cut them again to strips.
Sabrina, would you recommend that if someone didn't like sweet potato, that they could maybe use another potato or some other root vegetable?
Yeah, I think you could definitely alter this into regular potatoes or maybe zucchini. So there's a lot of different options that you can choose from. It doesn't have to be sweet potato. So the serving size asks for 1/4 pound of sweet potato, and that's usually like a small to medium sized potato. And I'd like to think about like the size of your fist. That's a good way to measure 1/4 pound. And so I'd say this was like a medium to large sweet potato, so I probably won't use all of it. As you can see, they're all somewhat uniform. So once they're cut, we'll toss sweet potato fries with our olive oil and Cajun seasoning mixture. And so we'll make that now. And the recipe asks for 1 tablespoon of olive oil and some optional substitutes are like avocado oil or canola or grapeseed oil. But I have olive oil today.
There any different, health-wise, advantage-wise between olive oil and avocado oil? I guess those two get mentioned a lot.
I'd say those are the two best options for oils. People tend to try to stay away from like canola oil.
Right.
I think avocado and olive are pretty similar.
Okay.
Edith, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, they're both really good oils. Like Sabrina's saying, they do have a little bit of a different like flavor profile. Olive oil is very distinct. Sometimes people say it's kind of grassy or peppery. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but very flavorful. A lot of people do like dip bread in that. Avocado oil, it would be more like buttery flavor and a little bit more neutral.
Okay.
But both are high in monounsaturated fats, which are heart healthy fat, and also contain antioxidants, which are good for inflammation.
Okay. Okay. And what spice was that?
Yeah, so I just added a teaspoon and a half of this Cajun seasoning.
Oh, okay. Okay. Crazy Cajun. Okay. Blackstone. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so
Huh.
crazy Cajun. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this recipe only asks for Cajun seasoning, no salt, pepper, or any other seasonings.
Mhm.
It goes on the baking sheet. And then we'll spread about a third of the Cajun seasoning mixture on top of them. You can toss it in like a bowl as well, but I feel like this is just easier, less messy. Yeah, and then you want to make sure they're spread out evenly so they are cooking evenly and they get a nice crisp. So yeah, now we'll pop these in the oven for about 15 minutes. So while the sweet potatoes are baking, let's move on to the asparagus. Now with asparagus, you want to trim the ends off, and they can be a bit tough. So to trim them, you just hold to the end of the asparagus and bend it gently until it snaps. And the point where it naturally breaks is where the tender part ends. And then a serving of asparagus for this recipe is around 8 or 10 spears, depending on the thickness of the asparagus. For these, I'd say about 10 because they're a bit thinner. But yeah, asparagus is great. It gives you a really good balance of vitamins and fiber, and it keeps the calorie count low, which is great. And then same thing with the sweet potatoes. We're gonna use the baster and season these with about half of the remaining mixture.
Have you guys ever eaten asparagus raw?
Uh,
I haven't.
not too often. I like asparagus. Yeah, but usually good with like a little salt or something a little spicy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it uncooked and it's still pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you didn't want to roast it or cook it, you can just
Oh,
wash
okay.
it, eat it.
Huh. Funny. Yeah.
I've never thought about that. That's great.
Hmm. Hmm. My mom didn't like asparagus, but she felt it was good for us, so she always made it for us. You know, and I guess she ate it herself just to show, like, look, you can eat things, and you don't like or whatever. But I ended up liking it. I love it.
What a good
I love
mom.
asparagus
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll get started with the salmon.
Oh,
And I'm using a 4-ounce piece, but you can adjust this on the amount of servings you need. And then 4 ounces is roughly the size of the palm of your hand or a deck of cards. I think this portion size is really ideal. This small piece of salmon, at least I think it's pretty small, it's about 32 grams of protein and a really healthy dose of those omega-3s that we need in our diet. With a 4-ounce piece, we'll just make sure salmon's coated for that bold Cajun flavor. When I mixed the olive oil and the Cajun, I was thinking like, this is not going to be enough for everything we're making, but it's actually plenty.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
flavors are so strong. And then, yeah, we're using the same seasoning for all 3 dishes, but I think like the dish itself like brings out different flavors. So it's
Mm-hmm.
great.
Yeah.
And then another tip, I got this salmon just frozen from Costco, like in the individual packages. But if your salmon like has skin on it, you can cook it with the skin side down and it actually make it like super moist. Like the skin will get crispy and that just like keeps the moisture in the salmon. So don't be afraid to cook it with the skin on too. And then, yeah, so we're just gonna wait for those sweet potatoes to be done cooking. And then we're actually gonna put the salmon and the asparagus on the same baking sheet. So that way it's just all done at the same time, makes for easy cleanup. I think it's actually a great idea. I've never done that before.
Uh,
That you pointed out that the Cajun that this recipe doesn't have any additional salt. If you are someone who does need to monitor your sodium, just kind of be mindful of what Cajun seasoning you're purchasing. Sabrina, can you show us or tell us how much sodium was in that Cajun seasoning per serving?
It's 260 milligrams. So I meant like, yeah, there's no other like salt being
Yeah.
added besides this.
Yeah, so 260 in what
oh,
serving?
oh, that's not bad
A fourth
for the whole
teaspoon.
for all. That's covering all three ingredients too.
Did you use a fourth teaspoon?
No, so I used a teaspoon and a half.
Okay, so that would be times 6. So if you're on a low sodium diet, this is still not like you can't do this. I would just decrease the amount of that particular product that she's using. If you don't have a sodium restriction, then there isn't really like you can go ahead and do that. And also everyone has different taste preferences, right? Some of us might want a little saltier, some of us might not. But you can definitely still do this even if you're following a low sodium, just cut it in half and then maybe add additional like cayenne pepper or like black pepper or something else. There's also a few like no sodium homemade Cajun blends that you can also look up online. I was trying to see if EatLove did have one. They don't have one for this, but they do have low sodium seasoning recipes for a taco seasoning. And I also saw a low sodium fish sauce, I believe. So there's a few options for that. But the like Sabrina said, there's no added additional. So it's only coming from this. So that does make it a little easier to kind of like adjust this and not have to take out any sort of ingredient. So thanks for sharing that.
Remember in the 80s when Paul Prudhomme, he was like the guy, the Cajun guy, the chef, and he kind of made it like Cajun food popular. It was like a big thing.
Yeah, he actually still makes seasonings and he has a line of salt-free ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be good to try. His were really good.
He does. He's still there. He still has it. I used to request his sample. He would send samples to my dialysis clinic and I passed it out to,
No kidding, really.
yeah, I
Whoa.
passed it out to the patients there over Thanksgiving to just, let them still be able to season like
Wow.
turkey or whatever, with something salt-free and not be missing out on the delicious family meal. Mrs. Dash too also has a line of different seasoning blends. Honestly, you'll be surprised where you can like everyone has kind of a seasoning cabinet or drawer or whatever space and we always buy it and then you only use a little bit, but you can make so many different blends from like what you probably already have. Like taco seasoning, I make my own, and it's just from this, spices that I've already got. So lots of things you could do.
So yeah, it looks like these are nice and tender. That's good. Just, yeah, move them over. Place the asparagus right on. And back in the oven for 10 minutes. 10 to 12 minutes.
So a quick and easy meal and one pan. Well, sort of one pan. You don't have to use too many ware. And also wanted to point out you are on a lower protein diet that you can just cut that salmon in half if needed, right? If you have to stick to a lower protein, we can do that. You can also swap this protein and use any other protein that you like. I feel like a tofu could actually come out pretty good with this Cajun seasoning. Beans, you can even swap that for beans, chicken, whatever kind of protein that you would like.
And then just some other highlights like the sweet potatoes have beta carotene, which your body converts it to vitamin A. And then this vitamin is used for your vision, healthy vision, your immune function, skin health. And then it's also really high in fiber, um, which promotes digestion and helps regulate blood sugar levels and
Oh,
ultimately helps you feel fuller longer.
sweet potato is not gluten, right? It's not, I mean, not like potato, right? It's not as
Um,
much carb or lower carb. I don't
it's
know.
a complex carb, so it provides like a steady release of energy,
Okay.
and so it helps maintain blood sugar levels and avoids like energy crashes.
Okay, so with the sweet potato versus a regular potato, I think that all foods can fit, but if we wanted to kind of differentiate between the sweet potato versus the white potato, sweet potato has slightly less calories than a white potato, and it does contain more complex carb, as Sabrina had mentioned, which is what gives it, and also the natural sugars, which the natural sugars is what's giving it that sweeter taste. And the white potato is a little bit more starchy. However, it has a more neutral flavor. The sweet potato is higher in fiber, especially when you keep the skin on. I know that Sabrina mentioned we can keep the skin on if you prefer. Again, go by your taste preferences. If you really don't like the skin, take it off. But if you don't really mind it, I definitely encourage to keep that on, but use good washing technique to make sure you're just kind of getting all the dirt and grime off of that potato. Both are very high in nutrients. Both contain vitamin C, potassium, magnesium, and there's also flavonoids in it, particularly for the sweet potato, just that rich color, right? Is just offering a little bit more as far as nutrient density. So, but I like both potatoes, like if I go to a restaurant that offers me half and half fries, I will get half and half because I want to enjoy both of them. And like we said earlier, you could swap this out for any root vegetable. I've done turnip fries before, carrot fries. You can again use the white potato. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I pretty much feel like you could sort of turn anything into like a crispy fry. Just again, based on like, yeah, how you're like roasting it and coating it and baking it, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, once you put the seasoning on, it all tastes the same anyways. So
And I think we have a few more minutes. So I'm going to share my, and just to remind everyone of all the awesome features that are available. So as you can see, today my lunch will be this delicious Cajun salmon, asparagus, and sweet potato fry recipe that Sabrina featured today. I want to just remind you guys, as always, that meal planning doesn't have to take a lot of time or a lot of thought. And when utilizing Eat Love, you don't need to use it for every single meal, especially if you're someone who just likes to kind of have the same breakfast over and over again. You don't necessarily need to fill that in. But just also remember, unless you really like to cook every single day and you have that time, I love that if you do. But if you're like me and just can't cook every single day or just don't really have like the capacity to do that, remember that you can always set your food to batch cook so that the recipe will scale up without you having to do extra math. And then if you ever are having a dinner party and want to use the recipe from Eat Love, remember too that you can also scale up the number of people eating the meal. Whoa, it goes up to 30. I don't know how that would look as far as a recipe. And also, kudos to you if you're hosting a dinner party for 30 people and cooking it. If you're doing a smaller party, like I think that this would be fitting. I may turn off though, like the leftover portion, unless you do want it to have leftovers, but that might make the recipe like really big. But yeah, don't forget that you have that ability to do that. So don't have to think too much. And speaking of a dinner party, if you were to do that and you wanted to, like if you had guests that had a bunch of different restrictions or dietary preferences, remember that when you are doing the meal search, you can do filters. So again, that way you don't have to think too much about what this other, like, this one can't eat gluten and that one doesn't eat beef and whatever. So you can also remove, whatever the preferences are, and then making one meal that would fit for everyone that's attending your party. So that's kind of fun feature of that. And then don't forget that they also have a little nutrition academy. So if you're someone with new or a basic like cooking skill or not sure how to do certain things, they've got a lot of cool kind of guides inside the Nutrition Academy. So there's videos on cooking skills if you're not too sure how to do that, or if you want to kind of improve. I know for myself, none of my cuts are ever uniform. I try to be, but then sometimes, I never learned that skill. So if you wanted to practice that, there is this. They also have guides on ethnic cuisines, which I found to be a really awesome feature.
Mm.
There's kitchen basics, where again, you can like look at something, again, like the knife cuts, or if you're not sure, like what does that mean? You
Mm.
can also look at this too. So lots of things, and I think our food is almost done.
Yeah.
Super excited. So let's get back to the food.
Wow, this smells amazing. I wish you could smell it.
Perfect.
So yeah,
And
turned
all
out
on
really
point.
well.
Okay.
And I guess, how do you know if your salmon's done? Do you
Huh.
guys know? Yeah, it should just like flake. You put your
Okay.
fork in it and then have a nice,
Okay.
yeah, looks like it's done.
Okay. And all of it took 15 minutes. So it was all three ingredients.
Yeah, so we did the sweet potatoes like 10 minutes before, so that took like 25 minutes, but everything else took 10 to 12 minutes. Nice and colorful.
And then for this plate, the sweet potato does kind of fall under our carb category. The asparagus is our vegetable, and then the salmon is our protein. So remember that balanced plate. Lots of good nutrients in this meal, which is always awesome and it's quick and easy to make.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the demo and hope you feel inspired to make the dish on your own.
All right,
Thank
then.
you.
Thank you so much for attending or watching the replay. I look forward to seeing you all at our next cook along next month. Bye. Have a great day.